Hey, welcome back, modelers. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experiences at Nationals. Also, I'm going to give you my final reveal of the Kotare Spitfire. Now, when it comes to Nationals, I don't know why, but earlier on at Nationals, maybe it was just seeing some of the entries or whatever, but I got into a little bit of a funk. To be honest, I wasn't even sure if I was going to continue this YouTube channel. It's kind of just imposter syndrome. I don't know what you want to call it. I'm seeing all the amazing entries that I saw this year. As soon as I put some of the things that I had on the table, I'm like I have a chance compared to some of the other stuff that's going on there. I was entered into a category with my F4 Phantom that wasn't even my best work, and looking at the 30 other planes that I had to compare to, it's like, why do I even bother? But I was truly humbled by all the different people that came over, said hello to me. Hey, love what you're doing on the channel. To be honest, I would not be continuing it if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you for coming out, saying hello, and just being able to converse with all the other modelers. That's what made it just a really, really nice trip. So thank you. Now, some of the things that popped up, talk about the heated issue, I guess. There's some different things that happen with judging. Now, my experience in judging this year was a little bit weird because the category that I was going to be judging with my team, they said, well, I was in that category, so I couldn't judge it, of course. So they said, well, just step this on out, go help another team. Everybody else looked kind of okay. So I just kind of worked with some of the armor, tried to learn a little more about armor, and kept checking back. Did you guys finish? Have you finished? You're close. It took them over 2 hours to judge this one category because it was just that good. It took them probably about an hour and a half at least to be able to narrow it down to just 8 top competitors. So there's a lot of people, like every year, talking about gold, silver, bronze. That could be a whole nother video. I think everybody understands what I think of it. I think from a developmental standpoint, much better methodology. That's a whole other thing. The big hot topic, and I was actually pretty close to this happening, is you had some people in armor, and you know, they're picking up the tank and looking at the bottom, looking all around and everything, and I thought I was gonna have to break apart some fist fights between some people. Why you would ever need to look at the bottom of a tank, it's beyond me. I mean, when we look at like aircraft, I can kind of understand a little bit of it because you want to see all the other things that's going on with it, but there's works around that. I brought a big mirror so I could just kind of scoot that under, look at different things and go, you forgot a seam or something like that, since the judging was that close with everything that was on the tables. But these guys, nope. One probably wasn't even attached to the base, so there's a lot of different models that are actually broken. There was a figure, which, why you need to pick up a figure and look at the bottom, I don't know. Make sure everything on the undercarriage is painted. I don't know. But that judging team saw fit, and they broke a figure. Some other things that do happen from time to time, like they dropped the flashlight on one of the props and it broke the prop off. That's a little bit tougher to kind of get away from. But picking up a tank to identify if it's a female or male, I don't know why they need to do that. So that was a lot. If you guys have been on Facebook, you've been noticing all the different things with that. Matt McDougall is kind of setting up, which I'm going to definitely get my hands on this if I'm going to go to the next Nationals, is a tank or whatever your subject is, but have it upside down and have that on the table upside down. And I think that's great because yes, this is going to go on just like the freeloader thing. It'll go on for a little bit, but then we'll get ADD and we'll move on to the next thing without any real change happening. So I really applaud that, to where, you know, we can kind of push the issue and be like, hey, how do we fix this problem? How do we make it so this doesn't happen again? So that was great. Now, other thing, I went to the Mig Jimenez, his demonstration kind of thing, and I was expecting more of just like, hey, you need to buy this product of mine, you need to buy this product of mine. But I was amazed. Humble guy, great guy. He was talking, he was like, yeah, if you want to bring over your tank or whatever you have, bring it over to the table. I'll love to take a look at it. I'll let you know. But the funny thing that he was saying, he was talking about some of the things that were going on with his techniques, and he's like, by the way, these techniques, they're not going to win you that trophy. No, different kind of thing. It was just speaking to like, yeah, this will make your tank look good, it'll make this more enjoyable and all this. And then he kept on poking at, oh, and so we'll show you this dust technique, but you're not going to see it in there. And we'll do this oil technique, but you're not going to see it in there, as in the contest room. And I thought that was very poignant and very interesting, that he just kept on poking to like that. And then he threw in some different theories that are very interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. So we talked about how maybe we're afraid to weather because we spent all this time on our project and it's great looking tank or plane, and then, but I could potentially ruin it, right? That could be it. So I would recommend playing around with some of the different paint mules that we have, and or one thing that we did with some of the other projects that we've done recently on this channel is just getting some Eduard over trees where it's just the plastic, throw that thing together and play around with it for cheap. Go to a garage sale kind of thing and get some cheap 1960s BF 109 or something. So there's a lot of ways where we can experiment without potentially trying on a $130 model kit. But that's one thing he was like, well, I think maybe you guys are afraid. Maybe that's it. So that came into it. But then he's, well, maybe it's hard. And he looked at a couple of different ways and he's like, no, 3 steps. So I apply the wash, I remove the excess, and then there you are. It's just a couple of steps, not rocket science. Maybe oversimplified in a way, but I thought that was very poignant. So I really enjoyed his different commentary on the US system of models, where he just kept on poking on, yeah, but you don't have this. The other thing too that was really cool is he's talking about all the different tanks and everything that's going on right now in Ukraine. Well, we don't have maybe the best color references and everything to what's going on in World War II, but that doesn't mean we can't take what environmental things are going on, different things that are happening in Ukraine in modern military, or even just your car outside as it gets dust on it, how you can translate that to new stuff that's, well, the new stuff to your World War II tank or aircraft or whatever it is. And I thought that was really good. And so we could look at all the different ways that right now the weather weathers any piece of machinery, put that to there. But he wanted to go in, and there's a few people, he's like, yeah, and if there's somebody that wants to say, no, tank never gets that dirty, I've got my laptop today, I will show you a million pictures where it does get that dirty. And so he's basically calling everybody out. It was great. Especially when we had the IPMS president in that room watching the whole thing. So it was pretty interesting. Beyond there, I did go to just the kind of business meeting and the National Contest Committee, and you know, there were some good things that happened during those business meetings. Could have been a little bit different where maybe we have a specific meeting where we just go over questions that the audience wants to pose. I think that would be good. It was more of a presentation of like wins and losses over the year. So yeah, I think there was a few people that wanted to talk, but we didn't have time. So I had a few things with that. Contest committee, I went for 2 hours and then went, I need to move on to something else because they went overtime. So I don't know everything that I talked to, but they are making a few strides, not necessarily the things that we want, but we are making some progress. They're talking very much about the BKB and how it started out being the out-of-box and how that meant perfect sense in the 70s and 80s, where you might not want to spend $15 on a model kit. Crazy expensive stuff, right? And you want to enter something that's $5 and be able to still be competitive. And that was kind of hypothesis at the time, but now with Eduard and everything, where it's hard to find a new model kit that doesn't come with photo etch. So what do you do? So then we've modified to basic kit build. And with that, could make a whole video about how that the vision was a little bit there, but not really expressed and not really communicated. And yeah, I wish I could find some of the numbers of how many models were actually disqualified from the BKB this year. Be interesting to pull up some of those statistics, because that tells us how much either the rules weren't really explained real well, or maybe they were, but they're hard to find. I don't know. It's hard to say. I followed all the rules and looked up the rules, but I'm a nerd, so whether we can expect everybody to do that, maybe we just need to be a little more transparent and have a handout, or I don't know. Or maybe what we're talking about is just killing the whole BKB and just have it be simple. Another good comment with that is getting into a vintage category. Just have vintage. If you want to enter in your kit from the 1980s, do it. And it's in the vintage category before the time of photo etch and all that stuff, I guess. And you can do that as that category. And then now we can move those awards into some of the different splits and get into some different names. We looked at also changing, instead of with jets, how you have the wingspan, which it makes it a little bit more confusing. So they're changing it to just be how many engines does the jet have. And that is a lot easier to see, so you don't have to grab a measuring tape and go, oh, is that 108 or is it 109 for category? I don't know. It's so close. And yeah, so that makes things a little bit easier. So we are making a little bit of changes. I could go into a different video if you want to hear more of my proposals. I put that up in the past, so there's that. Now, how did I do this Nationals? So once I looked on the table, I was like, I'm not going to get anything. Not really anything at all. But I picked up 2/3, and the awards this year were really, really cool. So you got these belt buckle, not full size and everything, unless you got like the best of. But yeah, they're really cool. Definitely the coolest award for any of the Nationals that I've had. So it was 3rd in the basic kit build for 132 prop. And then some kind of BKB sci-fi, I don't know. You can call me a trophy hunter if you want for that category. What really came from that, brought my little Hunbao flying saucer, and I wasn't going to bring it, but it fit in my box, and that's really why it came. And then I put it into the category that fit it the closest. So that's really why that came. But let's talk about some Spitfires. Move the camera over and you can see those. Alright, so this is the Kotare Spitfire, the one that we were looking at from the previous video, where just kind of initial impressions, and just built it with a few different accessories, really actually out of the box, other than getting into the HEW seatbelts into there. But everything else is technically out of the box. You're getting into a few things with some of the antenna wiring, but nearly out of the box with the whole build. I mean, technically this did come with the exhausts, which saved a lot of work. And so they look really, really good. So I didn't have to do any drilling of the holes, just paint it up, plop it right in. And so this one I decided to use the decals, and they worked quite well. There's a few things that I'm kind of seeing a little bit of touch up that I should have found before. Maybe just the Texas heat got to it. I don't know, but I do see a little bit of silvering now that I look at it. And that's always the fun thing after the contest, after it, actually makes a difference. So decals did work quite well. You can see them even catching into the rivets, so they worked out quite well with everything on there. And then with all of the stuff on the bottom, want to make it pretty grody, similar to a lot of the pictures that I've looked at. And the wheels that came with the kit were still great. I love the landing gear. You just pop them in and they click into place. No glue whatsoever on these, and just add a little bit of weathering to these. Now the other good news with this particular plane, this is going to be coming up into Model Aircraft International. You'll be able to see some better photos of this as it enters in. I think it's for 128 or 138, just a couple episodes from issues from here. But beyond there, I loved this Kotare so much, I said, you know, I could build this out of the box, completely out of the box, and it would be a great, great kit. And also I want to try, what if I did some masks? So that brings me into the Kotare number 2. So this Kotare is 100% out of the box, and this is the one that took 3rd place in that category. When it comes to everything on here, I mean, the seatbelts, molded plastic, but they have a lot of detail to them, and easy to paint, really, really good. Had a little bit of something going on with the front windscreen. It seemed to not go right as cleanly as I would have hoped, but a little bit of putty going in, and it looks like I got a little bit of some goof on there, so not 100% the best. The exhausts, to get them to work right, I had to drill them out, so that was a little bit tedious, but not bad. Also, with both of these, I painted them the wrong color, even though I used AK Real colors, and it was just too green. Too much of a light green. So I switched over to Tamiya's for that one, and much better. So that was a little bit of a curveball. I accidentally did that on both builds. And then with that I had to do some repainting. But all these markings, except for where it says like walkway inboard, all of them are done with just stencils on my silhouette cutter. So pretty dang cool. The other thing with this particular marking is I want to do the bottom a little different. So here, this is where we've got into the black and the white. Kind of D-Day markings, I guess. To be honest, I don't know what the history is. If that was the original painting on them. And, oh, shoot. Looks like from grabbing it and putting it into the box, I've got a fingerprint. Oh no. Sorry, I'm going to have to clean that for the next competition, but that is if they pick up my model. So with this, I did use the decals on the bottom, and they worked out real well. But everything on the top side for these markings, that was done just with silhouette. So super fun build. I think build it in less than like a month. So really, really awesome. Love this build. Can't wait till they come into some later on versions, some like Mark 8 or something like that. Where I can start putting on some American markings. That's going to be really cool. So that's the Kotare. Now let's talk about the other stuff I brought. Now, this is the Fine Molds F4E. You notice it's missing some canopies. They're here, and no, it wasn't TSA that did this. This is actually my doing as I was moving them in and out of the box. I kind of fat fingered them and had to deal with that. Also, same thing with the pitot tube. But, oh, and look, we have another casualty. I'm going to have to put that in my box. A little drag chute thing popped off. Yeah, so this one did fight me a little bit. Partly with just the original decals that it came with. They're pretty thick, and it was just really hard to blend them in. So I put in some micro scale decals, and much better. So get into some weathering on the bottom. Some of it I just was trying to just get this finished. Like I said, not my best work. Just kind of wanted to get it done and ready for nationals. So some of this stuff could have been a little bit slowed down and a little bit more methodical. But otherwise, the whole kit was great. The only thing that I didn't really care for with Fine Molds is where here you don't really have a canopy frame. So anytime you have the glass that has to glue up straight to the surface, it's a little bit more of a challenging result. So that was a little bit challenging putting that on. but the Kinta, or actually these were the Kalik from the same people that do ResKit, is going to have, you know, their 3D printed decals and added a ton of detail. So those are really, really fun. Pretty flimsy, so be careful with the injection handles. You know, you can pop those off. Good thing is it gives you 3 of them in that set, and I had to use those. Other accessories I added onto this, I got into the ResKit exhaust, which is pretty easy. The thing that they have to kind of line them up was a little bit tricky, but otherwise great product. And think of it, yeah, I also used ResKit for their canopy masks. Worked really great. So beyond there, fun builds. I don't know why, but I just am cursed when it comes to F4s. Always have some kind of issue with it. So someday I can probably break that curse and have something where I can build one without any issues. But yeah, this one fought me. Since with the decals, what I actually did is I just removed all of the paint off of it. And so this is the second time painting this bird. So that was not fun. But would I get another one of these fine molds? Absolutely. Definitely the best in this scale. So maybe Tamiya makes one. So that is the Fine Molds F4. Okay, this is the Takum Hunbu. I don't know how to pronounce it. Did have a little bit of a casualty. I don't know if transporting table, I don't know, but the landing gear that came off, so I'm gonna have to reapply those. But this is just primer red, the Rotbrun red, German red primer, whatever it is. So I also painted in the inside. I don't know if the judges took a look at that at all, but this got 3rd place in that category. Used the kit decals for it, and it worked out pretty well. And I had some fun with the AK weathering pencils, so you can go in and see a little bit of the markings I've done with that, just like how they wrote on some of the tanks that were just in primer with their process. So that was pretty fun. Just threw that in because I had space for it in my travel box, and so why not? About 2 weeks before Nationals, I was just trying to look at what do I have on my shelf of doom that I can finish in time for Nationals. And I present you Arma Hobbies P39. This one kind of went to the shelf of doom for a little bit because I was waiting on some parts. I kind of messed up Eduard's photo etch, and so I was waiting for a different instrument panel. So this has the Eduard look panel, if you can even see still in there. So I had that. Added a few more photo etch details in here from the bottom, but otherwise close to out of the box when it comes to it. Very fun kit to put together. Everything just kind of fit in place. I don't know what's going on a little bit with the balance on it. If you just have it a little bit off, it falls over, so that happened a lot. Should have tried to offset it a little bit by making sure that the landing gear, the bottom of the wheels were really flat. As you can see, didn't quite do that, and that probably would have fixed it. So we're talking about that at IPMS the other night. And the other thing too is I noticed I measured the landing gear and they were really good, but I think they're just a scotch off now that I look into it. And you guys can tell me in the chat if these guys are supposed to be like perpendicular to the ground for the landing gear, or if that, but that's how they clicked in place. So I figured it was the right way, and I didn't want to fiddle with it when it was like literally down to the wire. Some of the stuff that I was working on this very much was the night before flying out to Nationals. So I could have done it the right way, but didn't exactly have time. So this one was really fun. I love the way that it came out. especially just some of the weathering with the exhaust on this. Really, really fun. Okay, the final one that I've got is actually going to be the Eduard F4, F3, the Wildcat, and I won't show you that there. We've already talked about it plenty before. I wasn't even going to bring it, but then, like I said, I was looking at my box and I had extra room. So there we go. So if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. And we got some new videos that'll be coming up. I'm going to be doing a lot more build type stuff. I think you guys are appreciating that. So I'm going to be building the Tamiya F35. I'm going to put an aggressor camouflage. I've got the full Eduard Big Sin set that I'm going to put into that too. Throwing all the goodies to that one. I'm going to be building a couple of F104s. And that way I can kind of show you a few things with metallics. So we got some good videos coming up for you in the near future that's going to help you improve your models. But once again, like I said, thank you for watching. Wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. And thanks for all those that came up and talked to me at Nationals. Truly made the trip worthwhile. So until next time.